Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. The Bank of England has forecasted that unemployment in the UK is expected to almost double since the COVID outbreak, reaching 7.5% by the end of the year. According to the Office of National Statistics, the number of adults in the UK experiencing some sort of depression during the pandemic has almost doubled from before the outbreak, 42% of whom have said that their relationships have been affected, and 85% of whom have stated that feeling stressed or anxious has been the most common way their well-being has been affected. But it's not all doom and gloom. Our faith teaches us to count our blessings, whatever the situation. And COVID, for many, has allowed us to re-evaluate our lives, to focus on the simple pleasures of life, spending more time at home with our loved ones, reducing our expenditure, and of course, the benefits to the environment with less traffic and pollution. But we must also acknowledge that it hasn't been easy for many and continues to come with great sacrifice. And so as a community, how do we cope with these issues? One way, I think, is by seeking inspiration from our faith, from the example of our beloved Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and from his experiences. Surah Ad-Dua in the Holy Quran, which is considered a Meccan surah, according to several narrations, was revealed after a brief interval, during which time the Prophet is understood to have not received any revelation from Allah. And during this period, according to some early Muslim scholars, he was reported to have been taunted by others, who told him that his Lord had forsaken him and was displeased with him, adding that if he had been right about his divine mission, then surely revelation would not have ceased for him. According to several sources, it was a period of great uncertainty and anxiety for the Prophet. And in this state of worry and fear, the following surah was revealed to him.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Wad-duha wal-layli idha saja. ما ودعك ربك وما قلى وللآخرة خير لك من الأولى ولسوف يعطيك ربك فترضى ألم يجدك يتيما فآوى ووجدك ضالا فهدى ووجدك عائلا فأغنى فأما اليتيم فلا تقهر وأما السائل فلا تنهر وأما بنعمة ربك فحدث.
Now, there are many lessons one can take from this revelation. First and foremost, the conviction that Allah is always with us, regardless of whatever we're going through. And it is His promise that the future, be it in this life or in the hereafter, will be better than the past. That can become a source of hope and comfort for us. Secondly, that we must never forget the blessings of Allah, even during our darkest times. The Prophet too had his fair share of struggles, but Allah reminds him of his blessings, and that it is through Allah's will that the Prophet was shown the way, just as we too can be, by trusting in His infinite mercy and remaining steadfast on His guidance, one of which most certainly is caring for others, in the same way that we too have been cared for through Allah's mercy. And finally, that anxiety, worry, fear, despair, these are all very real emotions. They're emotions that even our Prophet was thought to have experienced during his lifetime. They are part of our human condition and ultimately contribute towards how we think, how we feel, and our entire well-being.
How we think, act, and feel, how we manage stress, relate to others, and make decisions are all affected by what we call our mental health or well-being. Mental health is just as important as physical health, and in fact, in particular specialties like mine, mental and physical health are closely linked. Mental health affects everybody, and so no one should feel uncomfortable talking about it, nor should any mental health problem be associated with any stigma. We all have times when we feel sad, worried, stressed, or frightened. During difficult times like the current COVID-19 pandemic, all of us are likely to, at least at some point, have been troubled by feelings of worry about our own health and the health of our families, personal finances and the global economy, and about when we are likely to be able to reunite with family, friends, and our Jamaat in a near-normal fashion. During this time, studies have shown that over a third of people are showing signs of anxiety, depression, or both. 2/3 of people are feeling stressed, and only 50% of people are willing to talk about this. During times of multifactorial concerns like this, feelings of isolation, anxiety, and uncertainty are common. Staying connected with others, reaching out, giving back, and being kind, learning a new skill, maintaining an active lifestyle, and trying to be in the present, as well, of course, as remaining staunch in our faith and engaging in prayer and ibadat, are just some of the ways we can improve our mental health and stay hopeful and strong during these challenging times.
You see, COVID-19 and its associated economic and social effects have had a huge impact on our Jamaat's mental health and well-being, and those amongst whom we live. And as we've just heard, anyone can be affected by mental health issues at any point in their lives. Whilst some of us may not consider, for example, anxiousness over losing one's job and how one will now put food on the table, or grief over the bereavement of a loved one, or fear of being socially isolated from friends and family as issues of mental health, they most certainly can be. If these emotions and feelings are left to become a continuous, static, overwhelming part of life. If we take the simple analogy of holding a glass of water, for a few seconds, that exercise won't be a problem. For a few minutes, you might still be okay. But if you're asked to constantly hold that glass of water in the same position for hours, days, weeks, months on end, that same exercise can actually become quite unbearable. And so what can we do in such situations? Firstly, acknowledging how we feel and identifying whether there is an issue by speaking to others. And whilst belief in Allah's infinite grace and mercy, His constant protection and guidance through a present and living Imam who is always with us, can be a great source of comfort, hope, and reassurance. As Maulana Sultan Muhammad Shah alayhi salam once said, and I quote, "Society can give a man space to breathe and freedom to move in it. It can afford him the means of keeping himself healthy and making himself strong. But happiness never depends on one's surroundings. It depends altogether and exclusively on oneself." Unquote. I suspect what the Imam is alluding to here is the importance of one's own action, of taking responsibility over one's own destiny, albeit by seeking out advice and support wherever and whenever needed, without any sense of embarrassment. and for those whom we love and care about, encouraging them to also take that first step by being that support system for them. In addition to which, as we know, there is so much support within our Jamaat, through our Mukhi Kamriya Saiban, through our institutions who are there for our benefit, for our well-being. One such example is the Healthy Minds team.
The Healthy Minds team is part of the UK jurisdiction Aga Khan Health Board. Our mandate is to increase awareness and understanding of mental health conditions and thereby improve the Jamaat's mental well-being and access to appropriate support and treatment where needed. We are a team of multidisciplinary experts observing the highest standards of professionalism at all times. We continue to support and work with all members of the Jamaat, whether they are parents with worries about their child's learning and development, new mothers experiencing symptoms of postnatal depression, people who have suffered a bereavement and struggling to cope, families concerned about an elderly relative showing signs of dementia, teenagers struggling with the different stresses of adolescence, university students experiencing anxiety, and Jamaati members of all ages struggling with loneliness, isolation, and the economic impacts of the pandemic, including job losses and financial strain. We also offer awareness sessions, training, and deliver fortnightly live mindfulness webinars for the Jamaat to help people manage their stress and anxiety during the pandemic. The best way to contact us by telephone or email. Our details are in the IIUK directory.
You see, ours is a community of faith. And by assisting each other through the preservation of sound mind, which is among the foundational principles of Islam's ethical code, by seeking out the support we may need, we are living our faith. In addition to which, we must never underestimate the power of prayer, particularly during times of distress or worry. In a letter attributed to Hazrat Ali alayhi salam, which is said to have been written to Hazrat Hassan alayhi salam, the Imam explained to his son what one should ask for in prayer and how Allah answers these requests. He said, "He accepts your prayer whenever you pray to him. Invoke him to grant you your heart's desire. Lay before him the secrets of your heart. Tell him about all the calamities that have befallen you and misfortunes which face you, and beseech his help to overcome them. You may invoke his help and support in difficulties and distresses. You may implore him to grant you long life and sound health. You may pray to him for prosperity, and you may request him for such favors and grants that none but he can bestow and award. Sometimes the prayers are delayed because the merciful Lord wants you to receive further rewards for patiently bearing calamities and sufferings, and still believing sincerely in his help. Thus, you may be awarded better favors than you requested for. Sometimes your prayers are turned down, and this is also in your interest, because you often unknowingly ask for things that are really harmful to you. If your requests are granted, they will do you more harm than good. Thus, the refusal to accede to your solicitations is a blessing in disguise to you. But very often, your requests, if they are not really harmful to you in this life or in the hereafter, may be delayed, but they are granted in quantities much more than you had asked for, bringing in more blessings in their wake than you could ever imagine. And so, whilst we all have a responsibility to care for our well-being in every sense of the word, and the well-being of each other, our faith also reminds us of the importance of sabr, patience, and the unshakable belief that Allah will always do for us what is in our best interest. We just need to have trust in His infinite grace and mercy. Thank you.